Hello and welcome to the latest bonus episode of The Dive Down, a Magic the Gathering podcast focused on the latest decks, trends, and strategies for the casual spike. My name is Stanislav here in Chicago, and with me on the line from the outskirts of Chicago, technically still the Midwest, it's the Godfather, Dave Harbarger.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
And also joining us today, we have a very special guest, my new best friend. We met in Las Vegas, and we've basically been inseparable ever since. It's the one and only Carolyn Kavanagh.
Hello.
Hi, Caroline. How are you?
Good. I was laughing about our new friend status. That's exciting.
It is. You know, I'm at that age where it's so hard to make friends when you're an adult. It's just
So
like
difficult.
people you meet at the daycare lobby.
Yeah, the hardest part for me is that I was Stan's new best friend until he said that sentence, and I don't know what happened to our best friend status. But
Do we need to cut or break or like just chill for a little bit?
I might need to step away from the record for a minute. I'll still edit this though, of course. But Caroline, you seem really nice though, so I'm okay losing that status for now.
I'm Canadian, so I think it's like required that I'm nice. I'm not sure.
How many Canadians have we had on the show now?
Oh, you have a Canadian counter?
Yeah.
So we've had
it's at
Mana
least
Symbol.
two. Yeah, we've had Mana Symbol on.
We might have a Canadian resident on soon.
True.
What is?
But-
Oh, like someone who's just currently in Canada?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Well, I aspire to currently be in the U.S., so we can switch places.
It's a 1-for-1 deal. I've heard immigration's really down with that. If you just
If I
find
could
someone
find a
who
partner,
wants to.
I would just be like, hey, let's swap spots.
Yeah.
I'd be so in.
Exactly.
Caroline, thank you so much for joining us for this bonus episode. We're going to talk all about your work with the VML, your resume and history in Magic and Modern in particular. But before we embark on all of the nitty-gritty, we like to kick off these bonus questions with a little something that we like to call Inside the Grinder's Studio. And what we have here are five...
It's an awkwardly named segment.
It's a
I know.
really awkwardly named segment. I was like, you can't see my face right now.
You know, we just liked that show a lot. And the first bonus episode that we did, we were like, we should just ask people the same question every time. And then I was like, it's just like James Lipton. So,
I think the problem is if I didn't know that was a show.
right.
So I was like, okay, sure, whatever.
Well,
I like
it's
the
from-
branding, personally.
Yeah. It's from our previous podcast about being butchers. It's a totally other thing that it just works.
Right, so what we have for you are 5 lightning round questions that you can answer in as few or as many words as you like. One-word answers are welcome. Sentences are also welcome. And my favorite place to start, as always, is... What's your favorite Magic the Gathering card?
Okay, this one's, I think, fairly well known, but my favorite Magic card is a Boreal Grazer, but I call it Slothers.
Yes.
And my life's mission, just so you know, is to get it errated to be a sloth. So, just FYI, it's something I've been working on. There are currently 3 sloths in quotation in Magic, but they're all beasts. So I have a letter writing campaign. You know, I've hired some people to help me. So, you know, it's a process. Process.
That's great. Stan recently told me when we were reading a deck list on a show that we didn't need to stop and talk about Arboreal Grazer in the list because he was like, that's not a great card. And I was like, it's a good card. It's a good card, Stan.
I wish I had known that before I agreed to do this podcast.
Or agreed to be his best friend.
Yeah, well, now then I don't know if I had as much of a choice in.
Right. But
What
yeah, it's a great
makes
card.
it your favorite card?
It's a sloth!
Yeah.
My like emotes on my channel are sloths.
Perfect.
Sloths and moose. Meese?
Oh, both cute mammals, that's for sure. What's your least favorite Magic card?
Island?
I think that's the first time we've gotten that as an answer, actually. But I know there's a large contingent of Magic the Gathering players who agree with that that's their least favorite card. But it's the first time that anyone has been so honest and so bold. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Do you have a favorite Magic format?
Yeah, so I wrote modern, and I wrote the word mostly, because in general, when I'm looking for something to play, I do drift towards modern. I actually own modern decks. I don't own anything else in my life. But this is not my favorite current, like, Modern Horizons 2 block constructed.
Interesting.
You know, but it's fine. I found a couple decks that I like, and it's like okay. But it's definitely the format I return to the most, which I think answers your question.
We will put it into the permanent record.
Thank you.
What's the biggest misplay that you remember in a game of Magic?
This is a good one. It was the first thing I thought about. I was just getting into Standard, new Magic player playing Standard. I was playing this Gruul Domri Raid deck, the classic like Theros Standard, and I was so excited. I love that deck. I probably still do love that deck. And I remember I attacked with a Polukranos. Everything was great, and then just second main phase, be like, aha! Here's another one. And then I was sad.
Oh,
It just stood out to me as like a mistake. Honestly, I've made since, but that was a big one for me.
can understand that. Was that the deck that had was that like the Gruul Monsters list from around that time?
Yeah.
That's also Shane, the other co-host who's not here. That's one of his favorite decks because that's around the same time that he got into Magic as well, and he loved the old Polukranos into Stormbreath Dragon kind of moves.
Fun.
Yeah,
So fun.
great cards.
And he too has a second main phase misplay story.
Actually, against a fellow Denver person, Shane top 8'd one of the first Magic tournaments he went to. He went to a PPTQ. We're just going to talk about him while he's not here because it's a great story. But he top 8'd this tournament that we went to as a PPTQ, and he was playing that deck. He was playing Red Green Monsters, and everybody was watching him, and he was playing against Andrew Beckstrom, actually, and completely he went through his attack phase, did his attacks, and then played a Stormbreath Dragon in his second attack phase that would have been lethal if he had played it pre-attack instead, and then Andrew beat him. And
Andrew Beckstrom of fame for being my roommate when I lived in Denver.
oh, really?
Wow.
I did not
No
realize
other
that.
fame.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
my roommate.
So your
Full
roommate, ask
circle.
him if he remembers the guy who misplayed Stormbreath Dragon against him sometime.
I'm literally gonna write it down right now.
It's funny.
Also, calling him Andrew Beckstrom is hard. That's a tough life for me. His name is BK.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
We're not
on a
just not
BK
on that
basis with
status.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll hook you up. We're best friends now, so best friend by degree of separation.
Perfect. Yeah, let him know that I listen to every episode of Constructed Resources. Just
will.
for his
Well, I might
poignant
not.
takes.
His ego might get too big. We'll see.
Good to know. All right, last question. What's your favorite piece of Magic slang?
I had a snap answer for this one too. I was pretty excited. So the word Dobbs, which I don't know if you're gonna rules lawyer me, that's not quite a Magic slang, but it comes up a lot in Magic. And I like it so much that I have accidentally been using it at work. And the word accident, I use it a lot. And then people would call me out and they'd be like, Caroline, what the heck are you trying to accomplish? And then I would explain it, and now we all use it. So I think Dobbs is the perfect one.
So I gotta tell you, yeah, you're gonna have to explain this one to us because I don't think I've ever heard it before.
Dobbs?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I think it has a variety of meanings, but I think it's mostly dead on board.
Oh. Okay.
But
Okay.
I think it might have another combination. Now I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's literally just me that uses it. Okay. Well, Google did not help me. Anyway.
We certainly know the phrase "dead on board." I've just never heard the abbreviation for it, and I love it.
Yeah, I
use
love it
all
too.
the time. But I use it like in reference to be like, oh man, I'm gonna miss my bus. I'm Dobbs.
Yeah.
Like,
This PowerPoint is totally Dobbs. I'm gonna use it tomorrow when I'm doing presentation.
yeah. No,
I love it.
I didn't realize it was not as common as I may have thought. Good to know.
Maybe it's a mountain time phrase, a regional colloquialism.
And we know that there's a different dialect for the mountain wizards from the what those swamp wizards, I guess, is what we are here in Chicago.
All right, so now I want to learn a little bit more about you and your background. And to start, I thought maybe it could be fun for Dave's sake and our listeners if I very briefly recounted how you and I met and why it was such a memorable experience for me. I don't know if it was as memorable for you.
It was. We're best friends.
Now we're best friends, of course.
No,
All
no,
right.
legit it was.
All right, so Caroline and I got paired up against one another at the main event in Las Vegas in the Modern tournament. And I was like 0-2, and I was like, well, now it's just sudden death mode. And I look at my pairings, and I immediately recognize the name, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm going home early. And we sit across from one another, and I think I said something friendly and polite. I hope I did.
Yeah.
We start playing, and it becomes immediately apparent that we're
Oh yeah.
we're playing a mirror match.
No, not just a mirror match though.
Right, not just a mirror match. I mean, in game one, we were just playing all the exact same cards in the exact same order.
Like land into this like suspend, and it was wild.
Exactly. And I think the thing that really, really sealed the deal for me, that I knew that this was a special connection, was we were playing the same basic lands that are widely derided by most other Magic players, but I guess you and I both love in earnest.
Well, it was more that I revealed my basic. Like I fetched or whatever, and I was like, oh no, I guess this is where the connection ends, because I literally said out loud, I was like, nobody plays with these basics. By the way, we were like really having a good time in a competitive tournament. But
yeah.
I'm like discussing my basics art. It's the black and white, or like I don't know what set's it from. I guess
It's the Midnight Hunt
Right.
full art black and white lands. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's it. Relationship's over. And then you're like, just wait. On your turn, you just fetched the same island. And I think I just lost my mind. Like, I just ran away. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, those were good times. And we both preferred the version of the basics that had that, like, little person on a cliff top.
Yeah. I think, I was going to say Jace, but those aren't Jace lands. I can't remember who's on those. But yeah, I completely agree. I always wanted the ones with the little person.
Do you still play with those basics, Caroline?
Oh, definitely. So a little bit about me. So my partner will sleeve my deck for me, and he'll always leave extra sleeves at the end, and they're for my basics, because he can't bring himself to put in my basics that he knows I love, but he can at least leave me space by not providing his basics. So,
I mean, that's support right there.
yep.
Compromise is the foundation of any strong relationship.
True.
So I'd love to hear how you first got into Magic. I'm picking up that it was kind of not that long ago, if it was around original Theros Standard.
I mean, Stan, we're getting old. That's like 7 or 8 years ago now.
I always say 5 years, but it's probably like closer to 10 now.
It's getting close.
It's getting pretty close.
Wasn't the 90s just like last week also?
100%.
Yeah.
So I started playing at Dragon's Maze, Dragon's Maze pre-release, whenever that was. And my main motivation for playing was after college, university, I went out into the world. I did a bunch of random jobs, ski instructor, cruise ship entertainer, whatever, all these fun things. And then I came back to Vancouver, Canada to, become an adult, whatever, I told my mom. And I got a job at a local out-of-school care program, like a daycare for big kids. Then while I was there, I was having two problems. One, I wanted to like what are the kids into? What are they doing? And trading card games were a big hit, all the way from Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh! To Card Fight Vanguard. I got into that at some point. Magic, not so much, actually. And my other big problem was that I was new in town, in quotations. Like, it had been 10 years since I left high school. I didn't really have a friend group anymore, and I was like, how do adults make friends? I still don't really know. But I found a local store that had board game activities that turned into F&M, and kind of the rest was kind of history from there. Like, once I was like, oh, there's nerds here? Like, that's how you make friends. And up until that point, I was not that social, and then I discovered, like, you can have a conversation with a Magic player, and you have a starting ground. Like, you can start talking about your favorite island art, for example, and it's not awkward, but it's only so many times you can ask, like, your person at a bar, like, what the weather's like tomorrow. Like, I just enjoyed that I found a thing that I could enter into a conversation and know the results, or like know how it was going to flow. I don't know. I like that. Anyway, so that's why I started, and then I continued. I was very casual for the first like couple years, but like very typical draft only, then commander. And then I discovered like that you could buy certain Magic cards. Like like it's so cliche, but I was like, wait, there's stores that sell just one Magic card. Like I could build a deck with the cards I want instead of just the ones I keep opening at draft. And then I discovered I could compete, and kind of the rest is history. My big claim to fame is that I just love Grand Prix, or what used to be Grand Prix, and would just love to fly out, have no chance of ever being great at the game, but meet a million people. And I'm pretty famous for never being able to leave a convention center hall without delaying the group by 20 minutes, because I keep running into someone that I know. So, never have dinner with me at the end of a Grand Prix.
That's awesome. Well, I hope we get Grand Prix back at some point in the future.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
or at
fingers
least
crossed.
Whatever Vegas was.
Right.
Yeah. You should check out the Nerd Rage gaming circuit here in the Midwest. It's trying to do something similar to the SCG circuit. RIP.
We actually work directly with Nerd Rage Gaming. Spoilers for a future part of this call with the VML. But unfortunately, it's not currently feasible to be traveling for those events for myself.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Who knows what the future will bring.
I think this is a great transition, because I've been dying to talk to you about the VML and really learn more about it, because until we met in Vegas, I hadn't even heard about it. And my understanding is that you helped start it?
Yeah. So I was definitely involved from the very beginning with season 1. The kind of organizing was a little, standard new thing. And then at the end of season 1, pretty classic problem I have is I'm like, oh, I noticed a bunch of things that I would like to change about this thing, but the only really good way to do that is to help do it myself.
Right.
So I got fairly, I asked to be, or tried to include myself to be fairly heavily involved in that. And then really started pursuing and taking over in season 3. That was kind of when we put players that the league was supporting, in this case marginalized genders, forward as leadership as opposed to not players of marginalized genders. So that's kind of what we tried to do, is hey, if this is a league for us, we should probably have a pretty big say in it. So kind of self-appointed co-chair somewhere around season 2, season 3.
So the VML describes itself as a magic league for people of marginalized genders. Can you describe in your words, what does it really set out to do, and how does it empower various Magic competitors?
Yeah. So the VML is in its current form. We always plan to grow. We're a 64-player league. 64 players because we do 7 weeks of round robin play. So the best way to do that is 8 groups of 8 players, and you play everyone in your division. So we're actually quite a long league. We take up to 10 weeks if you're all the way to the finals. Usually standard, though we've dabbled in other formats. And we're open to everyone of marginalized genders, which is a relatively, broad term. And if you're curious if you fit into that category, you can always reach out and ask us and kind of investigate. But that's kind of the best way. We do our best to be as inclusive as we can. We want to provide a competitive environment for the players of marginalized genders, but we also want to be inclusive and have a safe space. So we have a Discord, and we have this community that we kind of connect with, and it's actually have you ever played in a league over week by week?
I haven't
really.
actually. Maybe Arena a long time ago in the 90s, but
it is just a unique space that doesn't exist for any player. And so for the VML to fill it, it's been really fun. One of the fun things is, I have a good example. So every week you submit a new deck list. There's a deadline, there's a website portal, all this stuff, and you know who you're playing. And more importantly, you also know who your opponent has played previous weeks and what decks they have played previous weeks. So the meta game of the VML each season is not your classic MTG Melee, what happened in this tournament event. It's built, investigating to what your opponent played. Are they an aggro player? Are they a control player? And it also allows for opportunities where you can kind of trick your opponent or try and switch and bait and, just have a lot of fun. And so one of my favorite things about the community that we've built is I played a player this season in, I think, week 4, and I won And then in order for that player who I beat, because tiebreakers are heads up is one of the tiebreakers, they needed me to lose the following week. So they reached out to my opponent the following week and said, hey, I want to help you test. and I sincerely enjoy this story. Like, it's one of my favorite things about the VML. I also messaged this same player like 2 days ago and said, hey, I really need your help. This is what I think I'm going to play against. So it goes full circle. It's super community building. We all have met so many cool people from the VML every season. So that was just a little snapshot of what it's just a different space. You're not signing up to play 5 rounds, top 8, go home. It's a totally different world, and one that I love a lot.
What happens when you win the 10-week league?
Great question. So starting in season 3, we reached out to WotC Wizards and we said, hey, we're pretty cool. Can you give us some stuff?
And that worked?
No, we asked, we did some investigating. We figured out what we can get, what we can ask for, et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the things we do get from starting in season 3 and until things change, we have invites to the set championships.
Oh, awesome.
I've written down here PT. I don't know if you want to start that debate, but I just told them we get a PT invite.
We can take up that debate later, but that's an incredible prize. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It was pretty fun that in season 3 was our first season that we got the VML. Got the invite. A little bit about me. I actually won season 2. It was great. It was my greatest achievement.
First of all, congrats.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then we got the invite to season 3, and I was like, well, that's embarrassing. I should have won this season instead. So I did.
Oh my God.
So
Called it.
I won season 3. And I've currently taken off, a couple seasons, but I'm in the top 16 for season 6, so we'll see. But I got really tricked by my opponent this week, so I don't know how long I'll still be in the season. But
that's amazing. So is it standard this season still?
Always. It's all of our big leagues are standard. We've done some smaller tournaments that are we tried historic. The wild cards is a huge commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the biggest problems we have with Arena too, of course.
Oh, I wanted to share another thing that sets the VML aside is when you sign up to play at a tournament, you sign up for a PTQ on Moto or something on Melee, you tend to have the day committed. You're like, okay, well, I have to start at 8 a.m. I probably can't really make plans for the day in case I make top 8 or whatever. Like it's a time commitment. The VML has a pretty cool structure where you have 1 week to play your match. And it's at your discretion to reach out to your opponent. So you can schedule it. We have people in Australia, we have people over in Europe, we have North Americans, so we can have times that match. We can also say like, oh, I work, nights, and so weekends is better for me. Like, we just have a ton of flexibility built into when you play your match. And this also leads to some pretty cool ways to test your matchup. So when you're playtesting for a normal tournament, you have to kind of have a well-rounded deck choice. Like, oh, I need to be able to beat this, these 5 meta decks. And then you play some games maybe against all of them if you have time in your life. But for the VML, you only have to test 1 matchup each week.
Cool.
And it's great. I have thrived at that because I do not have a lot of time in my life.
Does this league structure and the fact that people will sometimes have an entire week to prepare for a match, is this all facilitated through MTG Melee, or do you use any other tournament organizing structure or service to help facilitate it?
That's a great question. So we've been doing this for 6 seasons. We've had our ups and downs on what software works and what doesn't. We actually got our start on Matcherino well before anyone else decided to try Matcherino. But no matter where we get our signups, so we do signups through Melee currently. Our structure is too unique. Our favorite saying is very unique. And no one can support a round robin 64-player tournament with a cut to top 24. It's just not a thing. So we've had to grab some pretty awesome people from my community, from everyone's community, and help us build things that work. So our current website, vmlmtg.com, is built by a player in the community called Ryan MTG. And the tournament is fully run through our website. So the pods are developed each week when you submit your deck list, and all the portals and everything a player sees, everything that you can see as an observer, is all ran through our website that we're slowly developing.
That's fantastic. I didn't realize that you had also put your foot into that as well. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. And every week, Ryan creates a new thing of our website, and it's very fun for me. So as just a regular observer, you can go to the website, you can check where we're at in playoffs, you can see regular season, you can see deck lists if you want. And then as a player, I have my own portal login that shows me extra information, my players' arena name, their Discord name, their time zones, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty cool that it works both for us as the players and for people that want to check us out.
That's incredible. It's built from scratch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm so jealous. I've always wanted a portal. And Dave won't let me get one.
Got to build your own.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't say you couldn't build your own. I just said I wasn't going to buy you another one after you ruined the perfectly good first one I got you.
So one of the other things that I think is really interesting about the VML is that it has a mentorship program.
Yeah.
How does that work in tandem with the tournament series as well?
So this season was our first attempt at a mentorship program. The main concept, it was co-chair Hayu, my partner's brainchild, and she basically just wanted to have a new players immediately someone they could talk to. Over the season, people tend to end up reaching out to people that play the same decks as them, or other reasons. They're like, oh, this person is nice to talk to. That's cool. But in general, she wanted newer players to have an immediate connection to say, like, hey, how do I open my portal, for example, on the website? Or how do I submit my deck list? Or what, oh my gosh, should I play? So she just asked for signups. She just said, hey, here's a Google form if you want to be a mentee, so a new player, or if you want to be a mentor. And she got exactly the equal number of both, which is just wild. I don't know what her plan was if we didn't get that, but she got a balanced out number. And she had asked a bunch of kind of like a personality quiz question. And so she paired people up based on their answers. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I have a mentee. They've provided me with great deck lists every week. Oh, wait, that's not how that's supposed to work. But it is definitely how it worked early on in the seasons. They had some awesome spicy decks, and I was like, I'm in. Like, let's go.
Let's work this together.
Yeah, it was a fun. My deck lists this season have been a lot of funny standalone. Like, I played Scoot Swarm week 1, for example.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I really leaned into the, like, let's have fun this season, and it worked out, actually. I finished first in my division, so.
Nailed it.
So the fact that you're on your 6th season, does that mean that we're in year 6 of the VML?
Ha! No. I learned a crazy fact at the end of 2020. I think we had just finished season 3 or season 4, and every season of the VML has been completed in either 2020 or 2021. We started January 2020.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like the answer is yes. I feel like it has been 6 years, but
Yeah.
it has not.
So are you what's this? So you're closing in on the end of season 6 right now, right? Yep. So I'm looking at the round of 16. Do you want to, so you're still in it on the round of 16. Who else do you want to call a shot for who you think is going to take it all the way this time, or what do you think about what's left in the bracket?
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit about just the top 16. So we finished the round robin tournament before the holidays, and we kind of took a holiday break because we thought it was a bad time to be playing kind of playoff Magic. And the way it works is the top player from each division got a bye into the round of 16. And then the remaining 16 players had to play it out. So they played last week for the wild card round.
Right.
And so I haven't played since December. So that's problem 1. Problem 2 is my opponent's name is Julie Izzet, and has only registered Izzet for the entire season and previous seasons.
That's incredible.
Wow.
And
Julie Izzet. I want to say Julie Izzet. If you're listening, Stan and I see you. That is what Stan and I do almost all the time by default, or at least back in the day, that's what we did too. But
well, here's the thing. Anyway,
okay.
So I have a black-red deck that I've been playing in the last couple of rounds of round robin that just annihilates the Epiphany decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to make a decision that should I just play the deck I know will beat Izzet, or on the like really small percentage that Julie switches, like how bad could it be? And it turns out it can be really bad. So I kept my black-red deck, which I am in love with, and Julie is playing mono-green.
Wow.
And so my tournament life is likely to end on Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So therefore, I guess I just want Julie to win the tournament. Like,
Yeah, because that means you came in second.
Yeah.
right. I'm
Right.
pretty sure that's how the logic works.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think with Julie, it had to have been very difficult for Julie to switch to mono green. So I'm gonna say that Julie should win once she beats me.
So you don't feel good about the mono-green matchup against vampires.
Well, it depends. A, if Julie's listening, and B, when this podcast comes out. But no, it's a little tougher, let's say, when they have really big creatures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my black-red deck currently has 4 main deck duress and 3 main deck go blanks. So
Oh, that's going to be really good against this creature list I'm
there's
looking at here.
burning hands in the sideboard. I'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on the play in game 1, whatever.
It's amazing how, I love the fact that it's so worked out that you can do all this decision making in advance and have, like you were saying, have this kind of fun trying to get in each other's heads while you're figuring out what to do.
A classic player, like classic like thing that a VML player will share, like when we're chatting or at a Grand Prix or just hanging out, will be like Sunday evenings are the worst. Like they're in a good way, but like the agonizing messages I get from friends being like, "What do I submit? Like, here's the data. Here's what they've done. What do I do? Do I play mono white? If they play mono white, do I play mono green?" Like, that's a bad example, but it's every week you just get a bunch of messages being like, "I don't know what to do," and so this weekend was very tough for me.
Well, I'm thinking about your deck now. You have some duress targets against mono green, right? Let's workshop this. Maybe you can get an Essex Chariot, Ranger class. Those are good gets.
So, yes. But the issue is like, when I'm doing that against Epiphany, their follow-ups are just like 4 mana draw 2s.
Yeah.
But the mono green opponent is like, "Cool, you got rid of my chariot. Follow up. Here's a moose attacking you for 4. Oh, I'll take 2 life to kill it. Thank you." So, it's just going to be a little tough. That's all. That's fine.
I haven't looked at a standard deck list in so long. I'm so thrilled that Ulinval Oddity is a playable Magic card in standard. I had no idea. It's such a cool card.
I guess, so that one's on my list next to get errated to be a moose. But
Okay.
I'm focusing on a Boreal Grazer first. But
I mean, you can only manage so many things at once,
right.
so
I mean,
understand.
running a mail letter writing campaign is expensive. So
Yeah.
How many change.org petitions do you have going at any given time?
I can't confirm nor deny.
What do you think have been some of the big picture successes of the VML as an organization and a league? And do you feel like it's been able to accomplish some of the goals that it originally set out to?
Yeah. So a little numbers game. When we started in season 1, we had 24 players. Currently in our season 6, we have 64 players that we had to cut out. Like, we had a wait list that we had to kind of say, sorry, we can only accommodate 64. Our current wish list or plan or future planning is like, how do we accommodate more than 64 players, which is really not a problem I ever thought we would have. A very cool problem to have. So growth wise, obviously that was pretty good achievement that we did. But the other big thing is just, it's not quite a common name since you guys didn't quite know what it was. But in general, I would say with Twitter and the majority of communities that I interact with, the VML is a thing that I can say and people will know that what I'm talking about. We also, one of the cool things was getting the PT invites starting in season 3, and being officially WotC sponsored this year as well. So we've done a lot of things. I think those are all the number games, which is clearly my role in the partnership. I think the Hayu answer is that it's representation, like just more of us, of marginalized genders playing these events leads them to play other Magic events, and then they start to do well. Hogpog or Aria an example of someone who's doing well in the VML, but also just, in random other events on Melee, and at set championships and stuff. So big fan of kind of what we've done there.
And people can watch matches, right?
Yeah.
Don't you stream on Twitch?
We do. We stream every week. We do recorded coverage. So how that works is we do a 2-hour broadcast every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/VMLMTG. We have live casters that are participants in the VML, but we ask 4 different matches to record, and then we watch their match as casters. So it's live commentary, but recorded matches. And yeah, we cover a variety of storytelling throughout the round robin event, whether it's cool deck lists or, oh my god, I can't show another Epiphany deck.
Yes.
A variety of ways that we would choose deck lists. And then, of course, the playoffs are solely, who's going to take it all down. You asked me earlier about prizes, and I didn't answer you for some reason. I was like, oh, we get a PT thing. We actually have a lot of prizes. We have a prize pool of $3,500, which is pretty cool. But my favorite prize, the only reason I'm bringing this up, is the winner of each season gets a token made in their liking by Inkling Customs. So we commission out Inkling Customs, and so we get a token made. And I currently have a token, but I have decided that if I win again, I get a new token. So that is my motivation for this season.
So we need to know what your token
Well,
is.
my current token is a moose. It's an elk token. And so
Awesome.
my new token will be a sloth.
Makes sense.
Not-
It's
not
very on brand.
Not really something that's being made in Magic these days, but I'll work on it.
It's a future-proof token.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name of the phenomenon, but it's one of those things where it's like, once you discover something, you start seeing it everywhere. And after we first met and you first told me about the VML in Vegas, I started seeing basically everyone wearing VML hoodies and swag.
Yeah.
It's like the hottest new fashion item in the Magic scene.
Yeah. MTG Pro Shop /VML? Yeah, VML MTG. There you go. Totally a link. It is actually legitimately a link.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the pro shops that are put together by Legion Supplies, right?
Yeah, so we contacted them. They print on demand for us, and we have a cute little storefront with them as well.
Is there anything we didn't touch on or I didn't ask about the VML that you'd like us to before we move on to the Caroline and Magic section?
Oh, that's exciting. That's a cool section. I'm a cool person. The VML. One of the questions that you did have down was, what's the future for the VML? And
Oh, yeah.
one of the more stressful parts about running a 10-week-long league is the meeting at the end of the league, which is, hey, so what's our plan for next time?
Mm-hmm.
And then we used to have, basically we'd finish the league. We'd all be like, okay, I don't want to see your faces for like 3 weeks. And then in 3 weeks' time, we'd start sending messages, be like, should we do another one? What are we doing? We've changed a lot. We have a lot of consistency. We have a lot of sponsorship support from Wizards. So we are fairly locked into future seasons until the end of time and space or other things, one of those two options. And our next, we have season 7 planned. It is ready to go. And then from beyond season 7, we have plans to run them. It's just going to look a little different, would be my guess. So.
Well, I'm excited to see VML's future and to cheer on VML players in future PTs.
Yes. Okay, well, I think I know who's on what side of which coin here.
Yeah. All right. I've been dying to talk about you as a competitor as well, outside of the VML and maybe outside of Standard too, just because Dave and I are pretty detached from whatever's happening in Standard and on Arena for the most part.
What? Why would you ever choose not to play Arena?
We tried, and then they put all these weird digital cards in the format that we were playing, and we were like, wait, what happened? I thought that my Mono Blue Spirits deck was okay.
Yeah, it's been interesting to turn on Arena and be like, oh, I haven't played Historic. Wait, what does this card do?
Right.
It gets a card from where?
What is Seek again? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been challenging.
Yeah, I'm also mad that they still haven't banned Brainstorm. They just suspended it and they're like holding my wild cards
Oh my
hostage.
god, I don't even like literally a can of worms that you just opened, but I got the styles to Omnath when it first came out. Like the fancy styles, it's beautiful. It's like one of my favorite arts. And then they suspended it in historic after banning it in standard. So I actually submitted a ticket to the website and I was like, I would like a refund for this style. And they're like, sorry, we can't do that. It's currently suspended. I
Come
was
on.
so bad. I was like, just give me like 500 gems. Give me 200 gold. I don't even care. If you give me anything, I would just feel so much better than the fact that it's
Gosh.
suspended. I was very sad about it for a while. I think it's been officially banned though, so I got my stuff back. But
That's good.
it was
Yeah.
funny.
I do have I did spring for the nice Omnaths in paper for I have the full art ones or whatever.
I'm
So
jealous. I don't own Magic cards. My Sam Party is the owner of my Magic cards, and he does not like the styles and the cool arts. So I'm not allowed to have them.
aw.
It makes me sad.
So, as far as kind of what other things that you're doing outside the VML, you and Stan, as we were talking about Men in Vegas at the Modern tournaments, you talked a little bit about how Modern was the format that you go back to often. How did you, just to start talking about, recent Modern, how did you end up playing Cascade in that event?
Yeah, I not been playing Modern for a while due to a variety of reasons. We had heard of some cool like 2Ks and 1Ks in the Denver area that I wanted to check out, and I was like, Sam, what do I even do with my life? And we looked at the elementals list. He had, during the pandemic, he'd been slowly collecting the cards that you need, aka Modern Horizons 2. And so we weren't far off from having that list. So I was like, okay, I'll just try it a couple 1Ks. And ultimately the deck is fun. I think card availability was a huge factor for that tournament. Like if I had just got to sit in front of a store and say, okay, I want to buy this deck instead, I probably should have switched off I was gonna say Teamer Rhinos, which is I guess what it is. I don't know, but I should have switched off the Cascade deck before the tournament because I wasn't doing as well with it anymore, and it wasn't like it didn't have as many cool choices as as other decks did. When you can only play CMC 3 or above cards in your deck, you do lose the ability to make some cool choices. So I'm happy I went to the tournament. I had a great time. I think ultimately I would have preferred to have a different deck, but card availability is a serious challenge right now.
What would you have switched to if you could have?
I mean, in hindsight, I've been really loving the mono red. I don't know what the best way to call it is, like the mono red Ragavan deck with the Blood Moons and the Chandras.
Yeah.
That's been my jam. I don't quite know if that deck was as known for that tournament, so I'm not really sure if that was an option, but that is the deck I've been really liking a lot. So.
Is that the Obosh kind of
The
list?
Overwatch one, yeah.
Prowess, some people call it.
Well, my version only has Swiss Spears,
Oh, okay.
so I never know what to call it. I guess the Chandra, mono red Chandra, but also is white. It has prismatic endings. So.
Yep. I was going to say, so I actually saw that you tweeted about taking that to your store championship, and then I did the same,
Nice.
basically. And I took very close to the same list. I didn't, I think you won yours. Is that right?
I made the top 8, and then the top 8 was Time Spiral Draft, Time Spiral Remastered Draft. So I did not do well in that part.
That's quite a curveball, but a lot of fun, I'm sure, for the tournament. Yeah, I also managed to top 8
Nice.
with it, and so thank you for inspiring me to take that with me to the tournament.
You're welcome.
Because I actually super love Prowess. Is It Prowess was kind of my jam for a long time, and then was feeling kind of sad, and then I started seeing people pick up this mono red kind of thing with Chandra, and I really enjoyed playing that deck too.
Yeah, I'm still playing this. I have a league on my Moto account right now that's just that deck. It's still fun. It's still good.
That's fantastic. I should switch back to it. I was convinced by watching people on Twitter for a while that the Luracy version instead was better, and I tried it, but I didn't have as much success as I did with Chandra's and Blood Moon's main,
Gotta love the Blood Moon's main. Pretty fun.
I feel like, Caroline, if you had played that deck in Vegas, it would have been the actual juke of the century since that Friday tournament was the first day that Crimson Vow cards were
Oh, you're
legal.
right. Yeah.
It was like release day.
So it must not
So,
have been available then. Yeah.
yeah, you would have had to, I don't know, find your way to a bunch of pre-releases the week before and opened a few boxes.
I opened a Chandra in the limited version of that tournament.
Oh,
I
awesome.
ultimated Chandra in limited 4 times that day. It did not make day 2.
Oh, no.
That
No.
tells you how
Sad.
that went.
Oh, that's too bad. I love Chandra is one of my favorite cards that's been recent cards
Oh,
that's
yeah.
been printed.
That
Though,
card is
like,
so cool.
yeah,
2 pluses? What could be wrong?
exactly. And the minus, the ultimate is not that hard to get to,
And
and it's
very
powerful.
fun. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
When was the last time you played Tron?
Ooh, great question.
Do you want to talk about the state of Tron, or is it too sensitive to bring up given
So,
where it's at in the metagame?
I can tell you that during the 2020 pandemic, because I feel like they're kind of 2 separate things these days. During the 2021, I was earning like store credit on random melee tournaments, and I just was building up this store credit. So I just started building Tron in paper, and I don't own a Tron deck. Well, I do now, but I didn't at the time. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, I got a modern deck, and I kind of Christmas of 2020, I was like, I did it. I completed my modern deck, and then, well. And then I never got to play it. I think I have officially not played with my modern deck that I built, my Tron deck. It really says about, I guess, 2 years. It's probably GP Vegas 2019. The one it was like August. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Stan, you also built Tron during 2020. Is that true?
That is true. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when
Wow, we
Double
really
Masters
are
came
best
out,
friends.
we really
But
are.
wait, you and I both like the red deck, so I don't know.
I mean, I can.
We
like
can all
more
be
than one
friends.
thing.
It's fine. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it was when Karn got reprinted and Double Masters basically was Tron the set. I was like, well, it's really cheap right now. I think I built it for like $400 or $500, and I wasn't going out in the middle of the pandemic, so I had all this extra discretionary income, or so it felt. So yeah, I guess I haven't really played it anywhere either. It's like still the sleeves are practically pack fresh.
I have a tangent about my Tron lands, if you're interested.
Of course.
That's why we invited you. It's really for the tangents.
Okay, so when I played Tron for a variety of tournaments, I always borrowed my friend Gabby's deck, and I kind of said like, hey, I should probably start building my own deck. And so I mentioned this to my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, hey, I think I want to start building Tron. So fast forward to Valentine's Day that year, he gives me a present, which is Tron lands, and they're very beautiful. I realize you can't see them, but follow me.
But we can hear them. I can actually hear them.
Oh yeah, sorry. So they are. Oh goodness, I'm really bad at sets. They are black bordered Japanese Tron lands,
Wow.
and the first art is, I'm going to try my best to describe it. So it's the classic tower with the sunset. So that's a tower, right? Then the second one is the bug power plant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we picture that one?
Mm-hmm.
And the third one I don't have anymore because it was also 4 power plants. So for Valentine's Day one year, he got me 4 towers and 8 power plants because they were in Japanese, and he just got mixed up with the arts, and so I didn't notice, because I'm going to tell you, I also didn't know the arts very well, and so I took a picture of them. I was showing some friends, and someone was like, Caroline, those aren't mines. Like, those are
no.
power plants. So we had to, make some last minute adjustments, and I now own 4 Japanese black border mines. They're the tower mines, but they're still nice.
The art for those original arts for the Urza lands were definitely confusingly named. Sometimes, like, there's definitely a power plant that just looks like sort of a kettle,
Right?
and the bug kind of makes sense. But then, like you said, there's a mine that has a tower, and it's like, well, which one is this? I remember playing with those as a teenager and was like, what are these things? And of course, they had 4 different ones. It was one of the first times they tried that. Then they said they weren't going to do multiple arts, and now we're back to multiple arts, which I think is fun. But yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so that is that is the story of how I tried to cheat at Tron tournaments by just having 8 copies of Power Plant. Could you imagine how consistently I would have a Power Plant in my hand?
Yeah.
It would be amazing. Small issue on whether or not I'd have a mine, but different problem.
I mean, if you can't read Japanese, you can't prove that it's not the card that you named.
Yeah, I guess I could just always say, oh, well, I have a Power Plant, so this one's a mine.
Right. That's how this works.
I mean, the days of Tron maybe aren't totally over. We were just talking on the episode that we recorded this week that I came in second place in the Sunday Modern Challenge.
I did actually hear that. I have like a bat signal set up for every time that happens. I'm kidding. But I did hear that it came second, which is exciting.
Most interesting thing to me about that right now is that they had a main deck Sundering Titan actually in there. Did they have a main deck Kozilek too? Or was it?
Kozilek's usually in the main, but it was in the sideboard replaced by the Titan.
Yeah.
I assume it's pretty good for money pile, right? Just blow up all their stuff.
All the lands. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting it's in the main. Do they also have one in the side to get it with Karn?
They did.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah.
kind of is less consistent in the main, but okay, that makes sense.
So just before the new year, you also made the top 32 of a Pioneer Challenge. And I feel like a lot of the players that I follow on Twitter and just kind of generally respect have been talking a lot about how great Pioneer is right now. I'm curious if you feel this way too. And I'm guessing probably since you played in a challenge, but maybe you lost a bet.
So a little bit about me. I legitimately love playing Magic, and the challenges in West Coast time, because I'm currently in Vancouver, Canada, the timing of them are quite annoying. But I actually love the 2 p.m. challenge, which I have learned recently basically nobody does. And so I look forward to a day, like a Saturday or Sunday, where I have time to play a challenge, but I don't usually have time in the morning. So it's like, oh, it's almost 2 p.m. Like, what challenge can I play today? And so this particular case that you're talking about, I just had time and there was a Pioneer challenge going on. And so I just went on to Goldfish and was like, hey, what's going on in Pioneer these days? And I have had a blast with Minota in other formats, and it's just my eyes were drawn to the deck list. I was like, let's go. And so fired up the Minota. I doubt that it is the best thing you can do in Pioneer these days, but it is sure a heck of a lot of fun. One of the highlights from that deck, I think, is worth mentioning is other Winota decks in the past tend to be very all-in, just trying to get a Winota in attack, whereas this is just a value deck. Like, it's just a classic kind of Naya mid-range that has a fun extra, oops, you didn't kill Winota win point, I guess. But there's nothing broken. Like, you're not comboing, you're not, taking extra turns or anything like that. So you're just having a good time. And I liked it.
Have you not played Pioneer since then? Was it just kind of a fluke because you happened to be free when a tournament was firing?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is how it is. I did notice that the MTG or the Mana Traders event this month is Pioneer. I noticed enough to remember it started yesterday, and I have thought about considering maybe playing it.
Those are great events.
I love the Mana Traders event. My only problem is it turns out deadlines and structure is really important to my life. So being told I have 25 days to to open Moto and play these games, it's like, okay, cool. And then it's like day 26. I'm like, crap.
Oh, I missed it.
It happens every month, basically. So I have noted that it started yesterday and that it's Pioneer, and then I thought about what decks I would play. But unfortunately, I have not played that much Pioneer.
From a higher level of Magic in general, what do you think of the current state of some of these non-rotating, quote-unquote, constructed formats? Because, you've made a jab at MH2 block constructed, which I think a lot of modern players definitely feel. They may or may not like it, but I think it's kind of, indisputable that the format has turned into that a little bit. Do you feel like the gameplay is still at least fun, regardless of what sets influence some of these higher level competitive formats?
Yeah, so ultimately I think there are too many formats in the kindest feedback I can give. I was on Goldfish and I was looking at all the options to pick what format, and I was like, I'm pretty sure a year ago there were 6 headers. And I actually legitimately had this thought. I was like, man, I wonder if the like website coders at Manatrader or at MTG Goldfish are running out of space. Like I legitimately had that thought. I was like, man, it must be hard to always fit in all these new. They have to build a whole new page, and then like there are so many formats. And I think that actually it's diluting the information that's out there on each format because there just aren't as many events happening for when you have 10 formats to choose from. There's just less events. There's less data to see, which maybe is a good thing, but for me, because I love looking at deck lists, it's not as fun. I was preparing for a historic event, and there was literally not a single deck list I could find. I had to make up my own deck list. That's not true. I went to Twitter, but
that's where everybody.
I went to
Fire
Fire
Shoes. Right place. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But in general, I'm noticing that with all these extra formats, there are just less options to choose from for information on the format. That being said, I do make a jab at MH2 block constructed all the time, but I'm referring mostly to card availability as the problem to that format and not the gameplay. I really love Modern. In the last 2 years, I have not played Moto other than trying to get QPs or play in a PTQ, except the last month where I cannot stop playing Modern Leagues to just play the mono red deck. Like, I played it on Saturday for no reason. I had many other things I should be doing, but instead I fired it up and was just playing it. So that doesn't happen for me personally. I'm very motivated by a reason to be playing Magic. I don't have a reason to be playing this, but I love it. So I don't think that that's affecting the format, but I think what's affecting the format is just too many formats. So
that's interesting because I know lately people are talking about whether or not standard should be sunsetted altogether because of popularity and whether or not it's particularly healthy in the way they're designing cards these days. Though I don't know if I've heard people talk about there being too many formats. I'm usually the one who's saying like, make more formats. You'll find an audience. Magic keeps growing somehow, some way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is mostly, I think the straw for me was alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm legitimately having a hard time understanding what's legal in historic now that alchemy is a thing. Like it has actually been breaking my brain. And this is not the first time I've had that problem with historic. Like we had the jumpstart problem. We had, I'm missing one. There's another set that was just for historic.
Well, there was the Strixhaven, the Mystical Archives made some problems as well, even though it wasn't a whole set, right? It was 30 cards or 40 cards or whatever.
Some weren't in historic and some were.
Yeah.
It's every time I turn on the program, I just turn on Arena, I just have to readjust. And I'm totally fine to do that. I love Magic. I do love Arena, unlike other people here in this call. And so I'm willing to do that, but I think I'm just starting to be like, well, this is like the fourth time I've had to do it. Like, am I still willing to do it? So alchemy has been the straw for me. And I think I've given each format a fairly good shake. Like I play a lot of standard. I've played a lot of historic. I have played a lot of Pioneer, not this year. But in the past, Mono-Green Ramp was my favorite Pioneer deck. I obviously play a lot of Modern. And then, Legacy and Vintage are out of my current access for cards. But, I have a Goblins deck in Legacy. So I think I have a fair assessment of I have tried and played all these formats and I'm running out of energy and excitement, and I think I'm a pretty excited person. So if I'm running out of enthusiasm, that's my concern. It's like, who else is running out of enthusiasm?
Yeah, I totally agree. I keep it's the Arena factor. So I really want to like Arena, but and I liked historic, like I said before, Strixhaven came out. That was sort of what felt like when it started to become a totally different thing to me. But Arena has just added so many different angles and so many different card pools that you have to track. I totally agree that it's been tough to keep up with that or want to stay engaged, and I do think it's a little confusing to people.
Yeah. I think just quickly, full circle looping back, one of my favorite things about the VML is, yes, the format's standard, and to people that aren't aware of, what's going on in our league, that's like, oh crap, it's just, mono green, and is it all day? But when you look at deck lists, I think when you get to play with people for 10 weeks long, 10 weeks of the league, you realize almost no one plays the meta decks, and they become meta in themselves. So that has kept standard interesting for me, and I think maybe that's why I like it so much. And then when I go into the other formats like alchemy or historic, I'm forced into this just kidding, you can only play the best deck here. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. and maybe that's why I'm kind of off the number of formats.
All right, Caroline, that was so much fun. I can talk to you all day, but I think my wife wants to go watch some HBO Sunday night programming with me, so I need to get out of here before I get into trouble. I gotta ask, where can people find all of your content and personality online? You're one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter in general, and I want more people to, especially within the Dive Down Nation, to make sure that they're checking out your stuff, both the VML and the Mighty Linguine.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Mighty Linguine, MIGHTYLINGUINE. You can find me on twitch.tv/The Mighty Linguine. There's a character limit on Twitter. I stream on Twitch on Wednesdays. My stream shtick, my gimmick, is that I always have someone from the Magic community, but we very rarely play Magic. So currently I'm playing through It Takes Two, but that's kind of my gimmick. It's been going on for a couple of years now. I just love hanging out with people from Magic community, but I found out that people don't really like playing Magic that much sometimes. So play a lot of community games, a lot of two-player games, silly, fun environment for sure. And then the VML can be, basically any information can be found at vmlmtg.com. And you can email me at caroline@vmlmtg.com.
Whoa, you got your own vanity email address?
Dude, we branded so hard this season. It's like my biggest achievement. We have VML MTG across the whole platforms. I worked really hard on it. It was good.
That's awesome. And so season 6 is wrapping up with the VML. If people want to keep an eye out for season 7, I imagine they can do that on your Twitter or on VML's Twitter.
Yeah, VML has Twitter as well, VML MTG.
Yeah, and so, I'm sure there'll be some discussion about how people can apply and things like that to get on the waiting list potentially for the league when that time comes.
Totally.
And we'll include links to all of this in the show notes of this episode as well. So just click on more info on your podcast app or wherever you're listening to this amazing content. But that does wrap up this bonus episode. Caroline, thank you again. This was such a pleasure. So much fun chatting with you. I think you're one of the good ones, and we were thrilled to have you on the Dive Down.
Yeah, I did want to say thanks for both chatting with me in Vegas, playing the best island in the game, though island is the worst card in the game, and inviting me on here. This was super great. You are pretty well organized, and I was pretty jealous. So thank you.
You can copy and paste our notes template. That was Dave's doing. Dave is our branding guru.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It legitimately made me feel very comfortable coming onto your show. There's a lot of information that I didn't have to ask and provided pretty cleanly, and a really nice environment to chat with both of you. So thanks.
Oh,
Great.
you.
We appreciate it.
All right. Everyone else out there, if you haven't yet, make sure that you follow Caroline wherever books are sold and other content can be found on the internet. And if this is your first time listening to the Dive Down, make sure you subscribe to get the latest episodes as soon as they come out every week. If you use Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. And now you can leave stars on Spotify, which is a nice new feature that we encourage all of our listeners to do. If you'd like to submit a question to the Dive Down, or just reach out in general, you can tweet us at the Dive Down, all one word, email thedivedown@gmail.com, or even submit an audio message that could appear on a future episode of The Dive Down over at podinbox.com/thedivedown. If you'd like to support our show, you can join the Patreon over at patreon.com/thedivedown. You can also support us while playing Magic with a Mana Trader subscription. Use coupon code TheDiveDown2022, all one word, and get 15% off your first 2 months of renting Magic Online cards. As always, special thanks to the bands Nowhere and Spaceblood for letting us use their music. And until next week, long live the mighty Linguine! doing it just in case.
Okay. So one of the questions you had in the beginning is basic intro details about Caroline, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how did you get into magic? What do you do outside of magic? You didn't ask. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But the next question is a big deal, and I can't believe we skipped it.
Caroline, I gotta ask, what's it like being Canadian?
So I was preparing the show notes ahead of time because I'm a very good guest. And I got to this question. I'm sitting alone in my room, and I literally start laughing out loud. Like, I cannot handle... I don't know how to answer this question. So I actually asked my Discord how to answer this question. So I'm just going to provide you with the answers that they provided with me. So one of the suggestions was cold. So what's it like to be Canadian? The answer is cold, I guess. The other one is... Well, I didn't pre-read this. It's like American, except that we are better than America. That's basically the same. Another one is covered in cheese and gravy. That's not true, but that is an answer I could have provided.
It's only certain portions.
Yeah.
Wait, is there cheese in poutine? Because I'm assuming that's a poutine reference.
Yes.
Yeah, there's cheese curds.
Cheese curds, yeah.
Okay.
You've
The
never...
one thing we have in common with Wisconsin?
Yep, Wisconsin.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really, really enjoyed that question, and I was upset that it got skipped.
You know what? We're gonna put that in. Maybe we'll have it as a post roll or some kind of bonus track at the end or a little Easter egg, but we'll get it in.